Join me today as we talk about adapting some other properties to D&D. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before, and welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. This is going to be a car talk video. I decided to go ahead and give it a shot actually recording the videos instead of just the audio with like a slideshow. See what happens. So if this ends up being on the feed, then I decided this is the one that looked better. So anyway, here goes. We've done a couple of these videos before. It's been a while since we visited the topic. We've had a lot of other stuff going on, and just trying to revisit some of the stuff we did kind of early on in the channel. Because again, as I've said before, all this is kind of a labor of love, so to speak. So don't want to just abandon ideas that we had. And I had a set of audio recordings for a number of these, and I just decided that it would probably look better overall if it was a video, even if it's a video while I'm driving. So, yeah. So, sorry. Something stuck in my teeth there. One of the earliest incarnations of this series, these videos, I mentioned that it's easiest to adapt fantasy stories because, you're most of the way there. You've already got the fantasy elements. Typically they take place in a pseudo-medieval setting. So, you're basically there. You just have to D&D-ize it, D&D-ify it. I don't know. You folks come up with a good name for it down in the... leave it down there in the comments. But D&D-itize, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, like I said, fantasy is easy, whereas you start going towards sci-fi, it gets more difficult because sci-fi starts dealing with, more scientific concepts, and, well, D&D and science don't really get along, so, yeah. One of the specific examples I gave of this would probably be very difficult to adapt was 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I've had some time to ponder that, because almost as soon as I said that, in my mind I thought, if I can think of any way to adapt this, I should, just to prove that you can adapt almost anything. So I've had some time to think about it, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is trying to adapt 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, as with any adaptation, one of the real critical things you have to ask yourself is, am I adapting the entire storyline, or am I adapting certain elements of the storyline, or like a certain MacGuffin or plot point or what have you? So for 2001: A Space Odyssey, I would stick with the monolith and trying to figure out how to use it, probably slightly adjusted in a campaign of some kind, because the rest you're talking about a machine that goes crazy and some other things that I don't know if there's an easy way to adapt them, although if I come up with some ways, well, be on the lookout. That'll be a future video. So anyway, if you have not seen the movie, first of all, you should. It's a masterpiece. But second of all, the monolith is an object. It's just a black rectangle. It's about, I think it's 8 feet tall. I know the exact dimensions are, I think, given in the movie, and they're fairly specific. Uh, but basically, imagine an 8 foot tall, probably 2, 3 foot wide, and a few inches thick, just solid black thing. You know, smooth like obsidian, like volcanic glass almost, but just no blemishes, no nothing, but just solid black. All right, that's what the monolith looks like. So, with that in mind, uh, sorry, I give some pauses because I'm driving. So, with that in mind, uh, the whole deal with the monolith is it was sent by likely aliens, although in 2001 and 2010 you don't ever see or meet them, uh, and for all we know, it's from humans in the future. I haven't read the books, so where I'm sure it spells out that they are in fact aliens and not humans from the future. But point is, the thing is not from Earth. And so the movie opens with a group of monkeys, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, finding the monolith, and they sleep next to it. And this group had previously been kicked out of a watering hole by another group. Well, after being near the monolith for a while, one of them gets the bright idea to start using bones that they find there on the ground as weapons. So, in other words, the monolith gave them the idea to begin using tools, which is the beginning of the evolution of mankind. So they go and they kill one or two of the other monkeys from the other tribe and take over the watering hole. And so that's supposed to be the beginning of mankind's evolution. Alright, so then fast forward to probably be the late 90s, because I believe it's the slightly later segments that are supposed to be, as the title indicates, in 2001. Although, the late 90s are going to look remarkably like the 1960s. So, just, bear with them. The people at that point in time find another monolith on the moon. Now, the people on Earth have no idea that the other monolith even exists, and the one on the moon could be the one that was on Earth, because it obviously disappeared because mankind never found it. So the one on the moon is actually buried under the surface of the moon. It's not just sitting there on the surface. Now that's slightly important, because it means it was definitely placed there intentionally. But it also means that in order for mankind to find it, they had to be able to get to the moon and then conduct, long-term excavations on the moon. Because if I recall correctly, the thing was emitting a radio signal of some kind. So this is all kind of a test for mankind, so the monolith would know once man had reached a certain stage in technological evolution. And so they studied it, and it's not until one of them goes up and touches it that it begins emitting a signal. And then they track the signal, and they have a ship that's going out into deep space to take a look at things, to see where this signal's going, something like that. And so the ship, two or three of the people are awake. Some of the others are in suspended animation, and there's a computer called HAL 9000 that's controlling the ship. And the problem is the old HAL has been given conflicting orders, and so HAL has to try to logic his way out of the situation. And well, his logical choice is there's no conflict if there's no people. So he tries to kill the crew. Succeeds in killing most of the crew until Dave kills him. Then Dave goes inside the monolith, and because he finds it out in space. And yeah, so for about something like 10-15 minutes, Stanley Kubrick just throws every special effect known to man at the screen to represent Dave experiencing the wonder and horror of the infinite, of just the cosmos, all at once, all in one place. And yeah. And Dave sees himself as an older man, then as an old man, then as a weird space baby. So, yeah. Bizarre movie, not really a lot of answers, a lot of questions. Watch the sequel, 2010. It's got some answers, raises some more questions. But for D&D purposes, you need to know that the monolith causes evolution and change. It has been sent by an outside force. So I would focus on that. And then what it's going to come down to is which outside force sent it. And that obviously is up to you as the DM. How long has it been there? Has it been waiting all this time? Did it just pop up? Did one of the gods send it? Or even the gods baffled by it? Is it from out in wild space from Spelljammer? I mean, is it, despite its precise geometries, is it really hiding horrors from the far realm? Is it really just a corrupting influence, such that once it lands or is uncovered or however you go about it, it just starts changing and mutating everything around it. It'll keep doing so until it is destroyed or it's sent to another dimension or whatever. There's a lot of ways you can go about it. I personally would probably go with something like that, to have it be your characters, the characters in your campaign hear about some bizarre happenings out in the wilds, creatures with extra limbs or extra digits originally than limbs, and then weird meldings, mutations and the like, and they go to investigate. By the time they get there, the problems are being encountered even farther out than when they were initially reported, and you just they'll have to fight their way in through all the weird mutant stuff going on, and the longer it takes, the greater the area of effect. So if they can't get in on the first try, whenever they come back to try again, there's going to be a greater area of effect, and the creatures closest to it are going to be even stronger, because they're going to keep on changing. So you go for something like that. And again, I personally would go for corrupting influence from the far realm, or maybe if you're in the realms, maybe the god Moander, who's like a god of like rot and vegetation and things like that. You could probably do something with him, something like that. If you're going to Forgotten Realms specific. also an idea if you're going to the Forgotten Realms. It could be a thing that is found at the bottom of the inner sea, the Sea of Fallen Stars, and maybe it could be the thing that fell from the heavens and created the Sea of Fallen Stars. And it's just been buried down there all this time. And finally, whoever sent it activated the siren song, and some sea elves found it, brought it up to the surface, and now it's your problem. Maybe it's at one of the ports. Maybe it's in Zentil Keep. You got to fight your way through the Zentarum to get a hold of it. And then there, maybe it's not so much the corrupting Far Realm influence. Maybe there it is meant to evolve higher life forms. So if any of the humanoid races, any of the potential player races get anywhere near it, it starts doing funky things to them. Potentially gain some stat boosts. Maybe at some kind of price to their sanity. But anyway, that's in general. That's the way I would go with it. Just use it as an agent of change. Decide early on. Is it from one of the gods? Is it from the Far Realm? Is it from the upper planes, lower planes? And what does it do? It changes things. Does it corrupt them? Does it actually enhance them? Does it change them for the better? For a given definition of better? Just little things like that. That's how I would go about it. Just don't even bother with HAL and the space business. Although you might be able to pull something off now that Spelljammer is a thing for 5th edition. So, but anyway, that's how I'd go about it. If you folks have other ideas or think it's a good idea or bad idea, have maybe some alternate ways to do things, let me know down in the comments section. It's time to wrap things up, so you know what time it is. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like, subscribe button, comment, share this around, do all those things that YouTube loves for you guys to do. But otherwise, we'll try to have some more videos like this down the road. In this particular instance, I mean that more metaphorically than literally, although I will literally be farther down the road at that point in time, so either way actually works. But either way, we will see you folks later.